So what do you think of that new intro?
That is sick. I love it.
Yeah,
Great.
I seen.
That's
I
great
showed it to
music.
Matt.
And
Yeah,
Matt
I
did
showed it to
that?
Matt, and he rolled his
Oh, okay.
eyes when the Masters went on there.
Yeah, I started laughing when I saw that. Yeah, that's awesome. That is awesome.
Yeah.
Love it.
Special thanks, Ronnie Trickshot, for cleaning it up for me,
Oh wow,
finding me the
yeah.
music. He said it took a while to find the music to Scream Casey, so he did a great job.
Props to Ronnie. Awesome.
Always, uh, as always, welcome to Podcast from the Pit.
Thank you.
Episode. I want to say this is episode 6 of Toy Talk. A couple of them haven't
Okay.
been released yet, but you were definitely on my early list of people to try to get. Thank you for making the time, Wes Joe Hunter
Yeah.
73. You're a big part of the. We don't really. I call it that podcast from the pit family, man. You're available when we need you.
Yep.
Always in the chat, talking it up. We got great people in the chat. My goal
Yeah, it's a
is to
great,
have all of
fantastic
them on.
community.
Yeah, and
That'll be
I
cool.
tell people it's like Saturday morning cartoons. You get up, you have your coffee,
Yep.
cereal, sit down, and hopefully laugh for an hour because we don't take ourselves seriously. It's just toys. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all we
Why
do.
should we? Right. Yep. It's our hobby. It's our passion. Love it.
We have full time
It's a great
jobs.
way
We
to
don't
start a
even know them.
Saturday.
Thank you.
What's that?
It's always so much fun.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, I'm a hard hitting journalist on this show, and I'm going to drill the hard, tough questions.
All right, here, let's go.
Uh, let's see. And like I said, elaborate on everything. I've only got a handful of questions, but I mean, a lot of
Okay.
them hopefully make you think a little bit.
Okay.
When did you get back into Joe? Because I'm assuming there was a time you didn't always collect GI Joe.
Yeah, it. I was out of Joe for a long time. I got out of Joe in '87.
Oh yeah,
So and I was a kid, right? I was in junior high, and peer pressure, small school. Uh, I didn't really know it. Like I thought I was the only kid that was still like playing with my Joes, and anytime I would have friends come over, I would put them away. Um, I didn't even display them. But yeah, I
mm,
got out of '87, and I really didn't. I didn't look back at it. I was heavily involved in sports and school and stuff, um, and just the social aspect. And this was, um, the '80s and getting into the '90s, and um, so I missed out on the Tiger Force, the repaints, the re-releases, the crazy '90s Joes. Um, like I didn't even see them in stores, or maybe I just wasn't looking for them.
right.
And so I got into in '95. Um, I was in college, and a buddy of mine brought uh, into the dorm room these weird looking Star Wars figures. And I was always into Star Wars. Back in the day. I mean, as far as the movies go,
Right.
and I don't want to jump ahead to possibly a question down the road, but I can get into that a little later. But on how I switched over from Star Wars to Joe, but um, yeah, in '95 he brought these in, and they just looked super goofy, like they looked like He-Man kind of Star Wars figures, and I just didn't like it. But somehow competition, I guess, in me was like, well, he got him, I got to go get him, and I got to get two so I can open one. Um, and I just kind of started down that path with starting collecting Star Wars from like '95 up to about 2006. Um, and then I just kind of lost the passion of that, and just being an adult and things happen in life, and just you got to take care of your family and
Right.
yourself. So and it was around 2018, I want to say, when I started looking on Pinterest of all things, and just going through. the old card backs, the art, the Hector Garrido box art and the card art and the file
Beautiful art.
cards.
Yes,
Yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, that's what sold us back in the day on GI Joe
for
was
sure.
that
100%.
Garrido card art, right?
Yep.
Um, you walk into a store, that just pops right in front of your. I mean, Masters of the Universe did a great job too with the. It was kind of a purplish. Um, they had a, I mean, lots of colors to throw in your face too. So, um, but GI Joe's just sucked me in. So I just kind of went down that rabbit hole back in 2018, and then I was my personal Instagram account. I started seeing some. I guess the algorithm saw that I was looking at other social media and GI Joe, and was
Mhm.
starting to sense, oh, maybe I would like this picture on my Instagram account. And I started throwing up some people's pictures that they were posting of GI Joe. A lot of them were claim sales, which I was like, "Oh, you could buy stuff off of Instagram? Interesting." So I didn't think too much of it. I still continued just to screenshot things that I liked, and I had my own folder of GI Joe, and a lot of it was just regular classic. But that's also when I started to see, I was like, "What in God's name was GI Joe doing in the '90s? Oh my God!" I'm so glad I got out of it at the time,
Right.
but um, I just
Sorry,
like
Ronnie.
even Tiger Force. Yeah, sorry, Ronnie. That's just, I mean, I was born in '73, so early '80s and everything. Joes were great. The anything really after '88, just didn't really appeal to me. Um, but and then I started seeing some things on YouTube, and I'm going to pronounce his name wrong, but Michael Mercy on
Yeah.
YouTube would do his I forgot what he titled them, but it was like the Joes of '82, the Joes of '83, the Joes of '84. So each video, each year had its own video, and he did them. He fabulous production value to it. Really great videos that he did. So I subscribed to that channel, and back in and this is probably late 2018, um, and was watching those, and all of a sudden another video showed up in my feed, and it was it was the play motion from GI Joeberg, and it wasn't Blazing Sands because um, the Atlantis Factor. I want
That's
to
a
say it
good
was a
one.
4-part or 5-part
Yeah.
thing that it's fantastic. It's a whole other take on what the headquarters is, right?
Mhm.
It's the GI Joe headquarters. The '83 headquarters is technically a mobile uh, headquarters that you can chopper in and drop from a drop ship or something, and
Yeah.
that's how they put that together on that video. And I'm like, wow, these guys are outside playing with their toys and shooting video and doing it as we would play as kids, with just using your hands as explosions and and I was like, oh, I did that when I was a kid. So between those two channels on YouTube, that really pulled me in, that I'm like, you know what? And it's about 2019 now. And probably around November of 2019. And I was like, you know what? I see a claim sale. I think I'm going to start collecting figures. And my first figure was Short Fuse when I was a kid.
Mhm.
And I was like, I'm going to start by getting Short Fuse again. And then that just started it for me. And I was like, I told myself I'm just going to get figures because one, I probably don't have the money right now to get vehicles, and I don't have the room. And yeah, so I was like, so yeah, that's I right, 2018, and then I started collecting again in 2019.
I know when I first started getting back into toys, it was GI Joe all the way,
Hmm.
and I always heard because I started listening to podcasts, watching YouTube, and I'd always hear people say space is an issue. And at the time, I just had like maybe one row worth of stuff. I'm like, space is never going to be an issue.
Right.
Yes, space
Yeah.
is an issue. So
Yeah.
much so that I've got stuff in the closets and boxes, and I hate that.
Yeah.
Everything I got out, I bought it for a reason because I like it. So I want to show
Yeah.
it off.
Yep.
But yeah, money and space, that's the two killers in this hobby.
Yeah. I displayed all those Star Wars, the when I was collecting Star Wars, I displayed that for a few years and it filled up an entire spare bedroom. And it was just crazy. I went and bought pegboards from Home Depot and bought the little S hooks and basically
Mhm.
hung all the cards on the wall. And then I moved, and that was a pain in the butt to redo all that. And I never had them displayed again. And then, and I was like kind of out of it already. So yeah, and then, when I got into GI Joe, I didn't really have room even for the figures at the time in the house I was living in.
Mhm.
Um, but I found a few things to make room for it, and then, when I moved to where I'm at now in Austin, um, there's your dogs. It's all good. But yeah, when I moved to Austin, I basically have a loft, as you can right behind me. I mean, these are baseball bat display cases from Hobby Lobby, and I saw that posted one time, and this is again probably 2019 or 2020 on Instagram. I think it was Yojo account who I'm, I want to say that's the account that I saw that posted on. And I was like, man, that's a fantastic idea. They fit perfectly for even the 4-inch modern figures they would fit in there too. But yeah, they fit perfectly for 3 3/4. So, yep.
I need to get one for years ago my wife got me an autographed Johnny Bench baseball bat. So
Yeah, that'd be perfect. And the best thing to do is, I always went in there when they were on sale and Hobby Lobby. They always have those like 40% off.
yeah.
And they usually start on Thursdays. So I would always go in there for that and to buy two of them um, at a time. So, and I just have like all those behind me. Those are all GI Joe. I don't have yet any Cobras on display. I got something in the works for that right now. It's down in the garage that I'm trying to finish. It's just taking me forever.
All right. So you touched on a little bit as a kid.
Uh-huh.
What all did you collect? And I hate saying collecting. We didn't collect as kids. We played with them.
We we bought our
We
parents
bought
bought us. Yeah.
and
What do you
played with
tell our
them.
parents to get us, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So early on it was Star Wars.
Hmm.
Being, born in 73, Star Wars came out at the perfect time. Um, you know, you were you're
72.
71,
72.
72.
Yep.
So the perfect time for us, right?
Perfect.
Um, and so yeah, I got into Star Wars as a kid. Hot Wheels, of course. Legos. Legos were great. I loved them. Legos were expensive even back then.
They
Um,
were, yes.
yeah, it's insane. Um, but I was always into the space Lego series, but they were just a little pricey for me to be able to ask from my parents is like, hey, I want this, I want that, I want this, right? They're like, you're gonna have to pick, so
Yeah.
but yeah, it was Star Wars up until right about when Return of the Jedi came out, because that's when GI Joe. I mean, in '82, GI Joe came out. I don't know if my short fuse that I got, which was my first figure, I don't know if he was an '82 straight arm version. I don't have a memory of, like, was it Christmas, was it a birthday, or was it just here
Random
you
day.
go? Yeah. But that was really the changeover. So once I got that figure and that articulation, I'm like, whoa, the elbows bend, the knees bend. There's more, at the time I didn't know the word, but there's more articulation. Um, and I'm like, and I was kind of maybe the Ewok thing and Star Wars kind of just like I didn't really care for as much. I mean, I love the movie, don't get me wrong, but
Right.
as far as a toy line, yeah,
Little teddy bears. Yeah. I'm with you.
yeah, and so it was really after Empire Strikes Back because I had I didn't get a lot of play sets. It was mostly just figures, like the Tie
Mhm.
Fighter, the X-wing. I got early on when Star Wars was out, and then for I want to say it was probably still on the shelf because Empire was already out, and Empire came out in '80. But I got the Death Star play set, which was really cool for Christmas
It's
one year.
nice. Yes.
Yeah, and I couldn't figure out what was in the present at the time. I would shift it,
Yeah.
and the elevator would be going back and forth, and I thought there were cars or something inside there just rolling back and forth. So it was big time surprise when I opened it up on Christmas. And then I had that Hoth Imperial base playset, and then the Probot. What's that one called? The with the gun turret and the probe droid.
Oh yeah.
So those went well together. But I always, once I got into GI Joe after Star Wars, everything was basically infused into the same universe. Cobra teamed up with the Empire, and the Joes teamed up with the Rebels all the time. So, and then, for my earlier years before Star Wars, I had a bunch of Fisher Price stuff that I still incorporated into that you know, into my Joe universe. So
Is that
the
adventure people?
I had the
The
Adventure People too.
motorcycle guy and
I had the helicopter.
yeah.
Um, the only thing I have left from that is the little raft that it came with. And I always the Joes quite wouldn't fit inside of that helicopter, but the those pilots that came with that helicopter, they became a part of my universe as well. One year for Christmas, I got that. It was uh, it was from Tonka, I think, or Erdl. So it was metal, and it was the helicopter that they came out, and it was 1/18th scale, and it had it had the Wrangler on the side of it, like Wrangler jeans or something. But uh, yeah, I got that one year and that thing was like actual 1/18th scale, so it was bigger than the Dragonfly.
Nice.
Um, so anything I got, I just really incorporated into it. But I had friends that got into Transformers. I like Transformers. I just, again, those were a little more pricey, and my parents weren't going to do both.
Right.
Same thing with Mask. I had a friend. He was the only kid in school that actually had Mask, and I thought that was really cool too.
Yeah. I
Um,
only had a few masks. Started out with Star Wars, but in '82, which I consider probably the best year. I mean, we get Joe and Masters of the Universe, and I got a ton of
yeah,
both.
yeah,
So my time was taken,
yeah,
and
yeah,
Star Wars went by the wayside. I
yeah.
traded
It really
Star
did.
Wars for Joe stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I did have a friend as well. He was a few grades below me, but he had a bunch of Star Wars stuff. And I always wanted to go, even though I was older, I always wanted to go over there and hang out with him because he had the Falcon, the Slave One, the Besman twin
Cloud car.
pot, the Cloud Car.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had all the vehicles and stuff, and I had a couple the mini rigs
Mhm.
that always thought those were cool too.
Never had any. They seem cool.
Yeah, yeah, it was. Yeah, they were kind of like when GI Joe, came out with the pack rats, and those little mini play sets, that you
Yeah.
just couldn't go wrong with those. but yeah, it was strictly from Star Wars, then to GI Joe is pretty much what I had.
Nice. So, adult collecting. I'm sure I know the answer, but I'm going to ask anyway.
Yeah,
Only Joe? You only do GI Joe? You don't collect any other lines?
yeah, pretty much like 99.9%. Well, now that there's more O rings coming out, so
Yeah.
Delta 17. Um, First part of your question, yes, it's only GI Joe. I when Classified launched, I started to get into those, but the nostalgic piece is the reason why I want my 3 3/4. It just
Mhm.
wasn't there for Classified. It was different. It wasn't GI Joe per se. In my head, it just I bought like the first few waves, the ones that I could find. On top of that, they like just the system made it so hard to track down some like the Target exclusives, and
Yes. It felt
I'm
like
just like
work.
I don't. Yeah, right, right. Which I mean can be fun, but you know it's the distribution part of it just wasn't that great. Um, so I was in Classified for a while, um, up to the point where I even funded or put towards the fund of getting the his tank. And after that had closed and they had already taken my money, I was kind of like, I think I also just recently had gotten, was it Breaker that came with the RAM or
Yes.
was it Clutch? Okay,
This
yeah,
burger.
Breaker. I picked him up and then I picked up Major Blood. I was like, I found those at a Target, and I'm like, what are these doing here? I was like, I'm just gonna grab them, and then I'm like, what am I doing with these? Because I'm not a big fan of this stuff. It's just not,
Right.
you know, pulling. It just didn't feel right. So once that his came in, I just threw it up on Macari. I'm like, well, I'll get what I can get. I posted it for the price that I purchased it for. I didn't try to like get anything extra out of it. And then I took my classifieds up to a toy store and traded it in for store credit. Um, that's how I was able to get the Crusader and the Buzzbore. And
So basically, I got almost the same story with that.
mhm.
I sold my Hiss tank to a good friend, Hans Chow, because he couldn't get it
Oh yeah,
where he lives. Uh, so sold it way before I got it. And when it came in, I shipped it to him. So I was happy because he got what he wanted. I didn't charge him a dime more than I paid for it.
right.
And uh, he was happy to have it. I was happy not to have it and not lose any money.
Yeah, yeah,
And I took, I would say, 95% of my classifieds, which I had a bunch, to a toy store for a lot of store credit. They were good to me because I took, honestly, I started getting rid of my Black Series and just stuff that I didn't want anymore. It's
yeah,
cool, but I don't have the space for it. I'm not going to show it off. So I took all that up there, and I was able to turn that into. You can't see them, but I got a ton of the classics, uh, Masters of the Universe, that I missed out on because I wasn't collecting back then, and
right.
they're kind of pricey. But they had to take in a big collection, and they held it for me until I looked at it.
Yeah,
They're Faraday toys. Check them out online
yep,
if you want.
yep. I've heard of them.
Great.
Yep, yeah, yeah. The same thing with classified was the same with the modern figures. They weren't the same size, and they to me they some of them just looked ridiculous with the way the joints looked on them, and I just was never a big fan of the modern series either. And I would see those when I was out shopping for or
Mhm.
hunting for my Star Wars stuff at the time, back in the early aughts. And I'm
I
like,
love
what?
those.
Yeah,
I love them. I got a
the
bunch.
modern.
Yes.
Yeah.
Uh, but
I mean, what
you
is
can
cool
find
on
them
it is
cheap.
that the fact that they have the web gear is actual web gear. I
Yeah.
get that. That's cool. That's a good update upgrade. So yeah, what were you saying?
Uh, you can get them cheap because I don't know if they were
Hmm.
overproduced, but even on the card, they're still cheap, mostly.
Yeah.
Like I picked up a Tombstone who didn't have a O ring. Great looking Cobra figure. I got him at Winterfest for like $10, still in the box. So
Yeah.
he's not in the box now.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, but and basically the only other thing I collect is anything that's O-ring, like Delta
Hmm.
17, the call sign longbow, um, Operation Recall, the Ghostbuster. When I got the figures, I never got the Ecto one. I don't, you know, the figures are just good enough. So um, the only thing passed on something of the Hidden Force.
Oh, I'm in on like either 6 or 8 figures of that. They look pretty
Yeah,
cool.
they look great.
Yeah.
I'm just not in. I'm not a big ninja guy.
Yeah,
So
I uh, I got into it on the last day possible.
okay.
I think I'm like they look really cool.
Hmm.
One of my favorite shows is Into the Badlands. A bunch of
Okay.
kung fu. So I was like, man, it's kind of cool. I love all this stuff, and I'm gonna see if I can't help get this Kickstarter over the line. And it did. I got over there on the last day, so
Yeah,
I'm excited
that's
for
cool.
it.
That's cool.
Darren, who came up with them, he's a super nice guy. So happy to get in on those. And I'm willing to bet I get those in hand before I get my call sign Lombo. And I am so looking forward to call sign Lombo.
I am too. Uh, everything out of it, just because one, it takes us back to the '80s, right?
Right.
I mean, it's Cold War.
Yes.
Something we didn't get that aspect with GI Joe because GI Joe was like they didn't, you know, it was his own thing.
Hmm.
Um, but Call Sign Longbow is doing it right, taking us back to the Cold War era um, in a certain way. So that's pretty cool. And yeah, I can't wait to get those tracksuit.
Yeah.
Uh,
And that Russian ninja character,
yeah.
he's going to be
Yep.
awesome.
Yeah.
But very excited for him.
Yep.
So long time Joe fan. Who
Hmm.
and everybody knows my favorite Joe is Airborne. Who's your favorite Joe?
Wow. Um, this changes all the time. Um, it changes usually between Flint, and the reason why I always Flint the figure
Hmm.
isn't that the figure is great except for the beret sculpt. Um, when Falcon came out, well, even Stalker,
Was better.
Stalker's beret was
Yeah.
great, and when Stalker came out, he became my favorite figure at the time. But then I got Recondo, and then
Mhm.
Recondo became my favorite figure when I was a kid, right? Um, and but when Flint came out and I read the back of his file card, the fact that he was from Wichita, Kansas, and I was like, that's just down the road from me, like an hour drive. I was like, Wichita, Kansas, that's cool. Like, I didn't think anyone knew where Kansas was back in the day. It was just we still don't have any like professional sports there. So, um, being originally from Kansas, even though I don't live there anymore. So Flint was always my favorite as far as a character because also in season one of the Sunbow series, he was heavily featured in that in a lot of those episodes because that was came out in '85.
Right.
So they had to push those '85 figures and toys, because that's what was out at the time. Even though they still featured, Duke and Scarlet a lot, but Flint was heading up those campaigns a lot in a lot of those episodes. Um, but my other, the one that I go back and forth on, other than Flint, is going to be is Recondo. Um, and just because of the hat, I forgot what they call that type of hat. And
Yeah, me too. I know it's not a boonie hat. You'd think it would be.
yeah, yeah, it's because it's not a cowboy hat.
Yeah.
Um, but I posted a thing a few months ago. Every once in a while, I'll get a figure and I'll put a character of what he looks like and like who he resembles in real life. To me, um, if anyone out there is a MASH fan, the TV show,
Hmm.
which I grew up watching the syndicated part of it. That's
Me
what we
too.
watched before we would. It was always on like at 6:30 in the evening. We would always watch an episode every night. But in the first series or the first season, Inside the Swamp, they had a. It wasn't just Hawkeye and Trapper and Frank Burns. They had a fourth person in there, and his name was Ugly John.
Hmm. Don't remember.
Um, and he was the anesthesiologist on the camp. And he was Australian, and he had a mustache just like Rakondo, and he always had his hat, his little whatever the hat, whatever they call that hat. So
That's Ronnie.
yeah, yeah, we'll have to ask him. So I always depicted Rakondo being Australian when I was a kid
Me too.
growing up, and I
Yeah.
always, would like even though I probably read his file card and like saw where he was from, that just didn't register as like he's Australian because Australians, one, they have a big knife. Rakondo has a big knife, um, and that jungle hat, whatever, to the side. I always, in movies and shows, you always see Australians wearing those hats like that.
Yeah, for sure. As a kid, I, I kept the file cards, but I really didn't read them because
Me
I
too.
wanted to do my own head canon.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
wanted,
Oh, I did. Yeah, I did the same thing with because I usually had the figures before even in '85, I would have some of the figures before that season came out, right before the
mhm,
cartoon came out, because it came out in September of '85. The year before that, for '84, even though, which is weird, the Revenge of Cobra in 1984 did have some of the '85 figures in it because it was close enough to '85 because that came out in September as well. But but yeah, I would get a figure, and before I would even see them in the cartoon, I just developed my own like this is how he's going to sound. This is the
right.
type of person, the character he's going to be, like Falcon. I had Falcon before I saw the movie, and Falcon to me was he's the next Joe Leader, and this guy is a tough son of a gun because he's wearing the kind of more of a Vietnam camo
Hmm.
dress, and then plus he's wearing a beret, and just I always thought anybody in a beret is going to be a leader. So, and it's the Air Cavalry insignia on his beret. Um, I think it is, and but then I saw the movie, and I just had the biggest issue with
Yeah.
him um, being kind of a goof off, and you know, but
Well,
yeah,
in Deke, didn't it make him a drug addict?
did that.
I
I
think
never
so.
watched the Deke. I
I
never
could be
watched
wrong.
it.
It was Deke was terrible. After Operation Dragonfire, Deke was trash.
Yeah, I haven't seen one full episode all the way through just because it's just
Hard to watch.
it's hard to
Yeah.
watch. And the same thing when I develop my characters, it's I couldn't develop them from what I saw in the comic books because I never I never saw a Joe comic growing up. I don't know if it's because where I grew up at, small. I mean, our entire my graduating class was 30 students from high school. So our entire high school was 160 students. So it was a small town, farming community in Kansas. Um, we did have a couple of convenience stores. We had one stoplight, one cop on duty at all times. Just one patrolling. That was it. But you'd go into a convenience store. Um, there would be comics there, but it was mostly like Marvel, DC, like the Batman or uh, Superman, and one, my parents didn't never buy me a comic, and two, I just never saw them all that much. And the first comic I remember seeing that was GI Joe was when I was. It was in '86 after sixth grade. It was the summertime, so before I go into seventh grade, and my parents are flying my sister and I out to see our grandparents in Arizona, and I happened to see, I guess maybe in the airport, the Special Missions comic, and picked it up, and it was the one, I can't remember which. I think it was an early Special Missions, but it was the one where um, they hijacked a plane. This
It's the first issue.
is it the first issue? And I was shocked that the fact that the terrorist that hijacked the plane actually shot the stewardess,
Yep.
flight attendant today, um, shot the flight attendant, and the next panel shows her falling out, just
Yeah.
out of the plane, and I'm like, oh, they really kill people in the comics.
Yeah.
Why have I not been getting this?
Why have I
Because in the
not
cartoon,
been?
it's just
Yeah.
which you can understand why they can't do it on TV with a cartoon, but um, yeah. And then I never really, I guess, try to track down more comics, but and I really didn't get into the comics until probably 2020, and so I probably would have had a different take on. I mean, probably would have been, I still would have loved GI Joe the same as much as I love it now, but my characters might have been developed a little bit differently if I was actually getting the comics back then.
So, favorite Cobra?
They're just figures, but that's such a hard question.
I know.
um,
I told you, tough questions.
yeah. Um, favorite Cobra. It's a troop builder, and
Not wrong
um,
with it.
yeah, um, it's it's going to be the Viper.
I was gonna say
There's
85
something
Viper. Or is it 86? It's 86, right?
86, 86. Yeah. Um, I had I had a Cobra Trooper um, early on. Probably it was 83, and the Stinger Driver is probably the close second next to the Viper,
Hmm.
um, because the Stinger Driver. It's too bad he didn't actually have a name, just like the His driver, but because he was different, he was in that gray officer outfit. So, because I never had a Cobra Commander until I got Battle Armor Cobra Commander, and since I didn't read the comics, to me that was still
Right.
Cobra Commander.
Right.
Um,
I
and
like Hammer, Cobra Commander. I think it's cool. I
yeah,
don't have it. I need to pick it up.
yeah, it's and yeah, that was my first Cobra Commander. So who was leading all my Cobras at the time? It was usually some like the His driver until I got the Stinger driver, and because he's more unique at the time. Uh, Scrap Iron, another good one. Probably underrated. You look at Scrap Iron and you're just like, you could kind of see more of, maybe they were building the Viper off of his color pattern in '86, and it's just that Cobra blue and Cobra that dark red. Um, but yeah, the Cobra Trooper, just the details and the knee pads and the flares, and then the piano wire on his
Hmm.
shoulders. Um, but when I saw the Cobra Viper, um, I first thought it was Cobra Commander just because of his helmet. When I think it was in KB Toys,
Yeah.
and when I saw that, I immediately just like, I probably knocked several figures off the pegs just grabbing it, because I thought it was Cobra Commander, because I never once saw a Cobra Commander, a Storm Shadow, a Snake Eyes ever in a store. I never had those figures. Um, and I had a friend that did have a Cobra Commander, the not the
Mail
hooded
away.
one, but yeah, the mail away. But yeah, so I thought it was I thought the Viper was Cobra Commander at first until I just like Cobra Infantry, whatever, and then Viper. I was like, oh, this is a. And then I flipped it over. I was like, well, I'm getting him no matter what because he is cool looking.
Yeah.
And again, the Cobra Blue, the gun was really cool. And yeah, everything about that Viper. And I have maybe 10 of them now. And as a kid, I had 3 of them. And, as a kid, army building was hard because trying to convince your parents to buy this figure again, you already have them.
Over and over again.
So you
Yes.
really had to rely on your grandparents, your aunts, your uncles, your cousins during birthdays or Christmases. Like, hey, I need, Um, but yeah, I had 3. I still have those 3 Vipers, and then I've added on to it. And it's just like anytime I'm going hunting for figures, either on eBay or Macari or on um, Instagram or wherever, or if I'm at a toy store, um, it's hard to pass up a Viper. I was like, I came to get this, and here I see a Viper, and I want to get the Viper,
Right.
but yet I don't have this figure. Why am I going to a Viper? It's just, uh,
But
yeah,
nobody makes troop builders like GI Joe.
I know,
Cobra
yeah,
has got the best troop builders.
they
Frag
do.
Vipers, Alley Vipers,
Oh, the
regular
eels,
Vipers. I mean, eels, yeah. Snow serpents. It's just crazy.
85.
Yeah.
It was crazy the amount of troop builders that came out of 85.
Crimson Guard.
Um,
Those are
yeah,
awesome.
and back in the day, they were my favorite. Crimson Guards were my favorite when I was a
They're still
kid.
up there for me. I like them.
Yeah, that sigil. They're more like an honor guard.
Hmm.
They remind me of the Emperor's Royal Guards. When I was a kid at the time,
Yeah.
um, I always hated. I didn't like how Sunbow made them made. I mean, they made all of Cobra buffoons. You know, and you read the back of those cards, and the Crimson Guards are supposed to be the elite and the best of the best, and they're not supposed to be acting like just a bunch of buffoons and
Right.
fumbling and just messing up the works and stuff. So yeah, I when I was a kid, I really enjoyed. Really, my favorite was the Crimson Guard until the Viper came out, but um, and then you know, and now it's not as much. Like I love the eels when it came out. The Snow Serpent was cool when it came out. Um, I hated I did not like Televipers at all
Yeah,
as a
the Troll
kid.
Vipers.
I love them now.
Yeah.
I think it's the fantastic detail on a Televiper, um, the with the face and the mouth and just the detail knocked it out of the park with that. Eel's the same way. That color palette on the eel, the red, the gray, and the black.
Oh, super cool.
Yeah, but I just can't get enough of a Cobra Viper.
I'm kind of like that with the Iron Grenadiers. Love building those. Those are fantastic.
See, if I was still buying Joes then at the time, those are cool. I do have a couple of those. I had to get 2 because just having Iron Grenadier Jestro doesn't look good by himself. You got to get, the Iron Grenadier.
One on each
So,
side. Yep.
yeah, one on each side. So, um, I'm just not a big fan of that ray gun that they came with, but everything else is so cool
Oh
with
yeah.
them. The red gun.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, if I was into Joe when they came out, what was that, 88 or 89?
I'm not sure.
Because
I'd say probably 87, 88. I would think, but I could be wrong.
yeah, but yeah, it was yeah, I would have probably had more favoritism for them as a collector now. If I actually bought them back then, um,
I
I
actually
was the
have
one.
the classified, and I don't buy classified, but I got the
Right.
classified on Grenadier because it's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there is some I will buy.
Yeah.
So coming to Joe Fest this year, planning on it?
It's in the works. Um, my work schedule, there's a thing that we have to sponsor for our work up in Wisconsin. I want to say it's the week after Joe Fest. And I'm trying to make sure that we don't have to fly out early for it. Um, if that lines up, and I'll be driving, it's going to be a 16-hour drive for me if I go to Augusta. I
Yeah.
think it's 16 and a half. But I've already kind of routed it, mapped out where I'm going to probably stay the first night. I'm not going to do all 16 hours one day. So I'll probably leave on Thursday. My plan is to leave early on Thursday, drive maybe 12 hours, and then wake up early on Friday. I just don't know. I haven't decided if I'm going to try to stay at the convention center because I looked and there's still availability.
Well, I know
Last I
Gary, he just booked his room last week and he
did he?
couldn't get Friday night.
Ah, okay. It's good to know.
But there is a Holiday Inn that's real close that I stayed at before. I just
Yeah.
rather stay at the convention center.
Yeah. I have, there's a bunch of Hiltons in the area, just a little bit further up too. And I got points with them. But yeah, I would like to try to stay at the,
And
con-
save money on Uber. You just get a hold of us and we'll come pick you up from your hotel.
yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I'm going to definitely try. I should know by I was I told you I was going to know by this month, so it'll be
Yeah.
probably toward the end of this month that I know because I think they're gonna my work's gonna send us the schedule for June. Which
Follow up to that.
uh-huh.
Sorry. Uh, what are you looking forward to most about coming to Joe Fest if you get to come?
It's meeting everybody. It's meeting you personally. It's meeting Eric. It's meeting Joe Ricondo. If Rec Ship's there, it's getting to meet everybody that we interact with. One on Instagram, two on your show. Um, I don't even have anything that I have in mind that I want to purchase at Joe Fest. Um, it's there's probably just the trip and the experience of meeting everybody there is going to be, what I'm looking for.
And that's it. This would be my fifth one, and that is what I look forward to most. And when I
Yeah.
first started going, it was all about the toys. I got to get my toys. I know what I'm looking for. I've got my list, blah, 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 which was fun.
Yep.
But now I'm making like lifelong friends
Yeah.
that
Yep.
sometimes I only see once a year, and it's such a great weekend. Just don't plan on sleeping much because there's not a lot of sleeping going on. There is, I mean, you got convention hours, there's lobby swaps afterwards, all kinds of panels. It's some really cool stuff, and it will keep you
yeah.
busy.
Yeah. No, I look forward to it. I really do. Yeah. And yeah, there's nothing really I would want to track down or anything like that I need in my collection. I can always find that somewhere else. I think walking around, looking, I might grab some like handful of just not the grab and grow stuff, but the loose stuff, anything loose
Hmm.
that, I might need maybe something extra of. But yeah, there's nothing really that I'm seeking to find.
I cleaned up on some Delta 17 troop builders last year because no shipping. So I just go there and buy it right
I
there.
mean, there is that aspect of it too, and that's the other cool thing. Meeting everyone from Delta 17 that'll be there for them, and same thing with Call Sign Long. I think Call Sign's going to be there.
Yeah, they should
I know
be.
they're there's the DFW toy show the week after,
Hmm.
and that's that's a pretty big one. And the fact that
Hmm.
I lived in DFW for a majority of well, for a long time, I never went to that, um, which is just ridiculous that I never made
Yeah.
it to that. Even after I got into, like, it was right, like, seriously, it was like a 20-minute drive because of traffic. But I try to go. Try to, and last year, Joe Fest and that toy show were on the same day, the same weekend.
Hmm.
So, because I remember Ken from Toy Connections, I want to say he was at Joe Fest, and then he
Hmm.
had people at the DFW, so they had to split up. And same thing with Call Sign Longbow; they had to like split up their team, and kind of a snafu on probably the DFW team putting that together.
Well, I think it was an off, not a normal week for Joke Fest. I think it was a week
Okay,
earlier. So now it's normal. It's
yeah,
the dates are
yeah.
pretty much the normal time.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was planning on going to both, but then I'm like, well, I think that's the weekend that my work is going to have me flying up to Milwaukee. So, I mean, Joe Fest is where it's at. That's where everyone goes to that I want to meet, and I think that's what I look forward to the most. Just meeting everyone, creating that bond
Yep.
in person. So yeah, that's that's what I look forward to the most.
So through this conversation, I get the feeling it's mostly just O rings for you, right? O ring
Yeah,
style figures, which is cool. I mean, it's nice to have that kind of discipline, I guess.
yeah,
I don't have it.
yeah. I well, it's also budget too. Stick to stick to O ring, stick to vintage for the most part. If something comes up Kickstarter wise, like there has been,
Hmm.
um, because they were O ring, I jumped on it, and I want to say Call Sign and Operation Recall were very close, and I was worried I wasn't going to be able to back both of them.
Hmm.
Um, Thankfully, I don't think Delta had a
No,
Kickstarter. I think they just launched it, which is great.
they did their own thing,
That was
and
awesome, and
yes,
I I guess I missed the launch date, but yeah, just shortly after Christmas, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna treat myself to I almost got the entire line, so I just didn't get the troop builder part of it on the good guy side. I can't think of the name of it.
Delta Squad,
Delta
A and
Squad,
B, I
yeah.
think.
Yeah, and then the other one that I missed out on, I don't think they did a Kickstarter either, but Strike Force Alpha.
Yeah, I
Um,
think Eric's got a couple of those. I don't have any.
they're so I've Matthew
LaCroix. Hmm.
Lacroix, yeah. So he makes those custom figures. Great Instagram account, Lacroix's Toys. Um, So that's how I got, like, I have a Beverly Hills Cop Eddie Murphy Axel Foley
Yeah.
figure um, from him, and then I also sent him two Zorana figures where he custom made Zorana's sister. Um, what's her name? I didn't even know she existed, but um,
Yeah,
I saw
I'm
some
thinking of Zanya,
Zanya. Yeah, Zanya.
Zartan's daughter, right? Zanya's daughter,
Is that who it
Zartan's
is?
daughter. Yeah,
Yeah. So I sent him two, so he made me two different ones.
nice.
Fantastic work. But he's part of that. I believe he's part of
Hmm.
that Strike Force Alpha. Um,
Might be the
he
paint
had,
master. He's
yeah,
amazing. He did some Valverse customs on some 3 3/4 O rings, and they look so good. I'm like wishing they were viable.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. And I missed out on Marauders. Gun. What's that line called?
Uh, Marauder Gunrunners,
Gun
Vietnam.
runners.
Yeah,
Yeah. So a
everybody
lot of
seems
those
to be that.
accessories though fit pretty good with the Joe figures.
Yeah,
Um, so I just I'll go on their website and outfit them every once in a while.
I
I could
made the original 9 Joes out of Marauder parts. How I would see them,
right.
and that was fun to do.
Yeah. It just I'm a sucker for the and sometimes they're really good. Sometimes they're okay, and it's like, why did I go in on this? But because they're O-ring. I go down the black major as well. Um, and I guess right when I got into back into collecting, there was the red laser um, guy that made. I have a few red lasers. I picked them up at a toy store. I was like, who makes these? Like, I have a bat that's like a medical bat. I'm like, this is really cool, but this is a custom. And then one of the guys on Instagram's like, oh, that's from Red Laser. They used to make that stuff. And I was like, oh, okay.
Now there's Lady J toys. I think they do stuff too.
Yeah, I got a few of those female figures that he did. Those are cool. Those are pretty cool. Yeah, that's a rabbit hole I go down, and that hurts my pockets too.
So since you've been back into collecting, what's your favorite pickup you've got? It doesn't have to be a Grail item or anything like that. Just your favorite pickup you've got.
um, well, I could do both. Favorite vehicle playset and then favorite figure. The favorite figure I have um, is probably Tiger Force Outback,
Nice.
and got him a few years ago. Um, and a local guy had him. Cold War Toys used to have an account. I think he still does. He just doesn't. He doesn't do the toy business anymore. Um, but I met him locally to bit, and yeah, we um, picked it up from him. So just missing the flashlight on him, which I'm not a completist, thankfully.
Right.
So there's enough stuff that you can have repros done or 3D stuff done. So I'm good with that.
Me too.
I have an extra um, the figure I use on my profile, the one I have the Metallica
Hmm.
sticker on and Monkey Wrench's face, but that's the Joe Hunter dude. So, but he has a flashlight. I keep forgetting. I was like, he actually has a flashlight in Outback's pants, and I could just take that and paint it white and put it on Tiger Force Outback. So, the favorite vehicle probably or playset that I have, my favorite pickup, um, would be, and I've had it for a few years now. I got it early. Would be the Rattler, just because my childhood Rattler met its demise because I played with it so much. Same thing with my Dragonfly and a lot of my other stuff. Um, Usually anything from 85 or before didn't survive my childhood.
Right.
Um, Anything from 86 to 87, my last 2 years, like I still have my original Tomahawk, my Conquest, and all my figures, um, and my Night Raven. And they're in still fantastic shape. Stickers are a little dirty and stuff because I did play with them outside. I just didn't play with them that long though.
Mm.
But my Rattler is my favorite pickup, and I picked it up back in 2020 um, during the holidays because that's when I got my Rattler as a kid. Was in '84 for Christmas, and like I remember that Christmas morning like it was yesterday. Just it was such a cool vehicle. or yeah, cool aircraft, and it was good to pick that up and have in my collection again. And that
Yeah.
was really not too long after I started. Like, I'm only collecting figures, and then I
Yeah.
went down a rabbit hole. I started picking up little tiny uh, um, vehicles, and then next thing you know, I get the Wolverine, and then next thing you know, here's the Rattler, and then here's the Dragonfly, and then I come home with the whale, and I'm like, uh oh.
Yeah. It doesn't take long to get to that point. I'm just going to get what I had as a kid.
Yeah,
Fortunately, I had a lot of stuff as a kid, which still amazes me to this day because we did not have money. We were not a
yeah,
well off family, but my parents, bless them, they always made sure me and my brother had a good Christmas.
that's awesome.
They put everything into it. One time I thought I was just getting a sweater, opened up the box, and it was stuffed full of carded Joes.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, they,
Yeah,
stuff you don't even really think about until you're older and you think, wow, they really put a lot of effort into making sure our
yep,
childhood was a happy one.
yeah,
Yeah,
and that, I mean,
couldn't ask for
that's one
better.
thing. My parents, yeah, the same way. Like when I was, when I was before there was GI Joe, I always wanted the Millennium Falcon,
Hmm.
and I would see it in the mall, and I would see it, before the holidays, and it was always on my Christmas wish list. And that my sister and I would write to Santa. And after that phase, and as I got older, I knew my parents weren't going to buy me the flag. I never saw the flag in any stores in Kansas. I never saw that thing. I don't. They probably didn't even um, distribute it to Kansas. Maybe to Kansas City, but not in my part. Um, I never. I knew I wasn't going to get the Mauler. I wanted the Mauler, um, but that thing, anything that was really over $20, then wasn't going to happen. Um, I was fortunate, and I knew that, and I didn't like. My parents even told me, you never whined or anything about certain things about that materialistic stuff, as a kid. Um, and the stuff that I did want, like in 86 and 87, that's when I was old enough to like start doing chores and
Hmm.
earning stuff. So if I wanted something, I'm going to have to earn it. And so, yeah, no, I'm thankful the way my parents, there was a Christmas, like we only got one thing, and it was that Ertl helicopter. That's the only thing I got for. I think that was in '83, but that was cool, and I could play
Hmm.
with it with my GI Joe, so I was happy, And one year, this is in like my sister got the Barbie Dream House for Christmas. This was like in '80 or '79, but that big Barbie Dream House 3-piece thing, and I think she even got the swimming pool too. But that's the year I got the X-wing and the Tie Fighter, the case, and just a bunch of Star Wars stuff.
Hmm.
Um, so there was good years, and then there was some lean years.
But at the end of it, they were all good years.
They're all
'Cause-
good years.
Yep.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
we talked about your favorite. Have you got any buyer remorse stories? Like you got something, maybe you always wanted it, but when you got it, it wasn't as good as you thought it was going to be, or just not great at all.
I have one as a kid,
Okay.
and it's the last year um, of me buying Joe's, and it's '87, and I have most of the Joe figures, and for some reason, I also still have my Crocmaster, my Raptor. Um, Not sure why I got those at the time, but I did, and they're not bad now. That the more that I see them in like in the comics and stuff, um, but and I never could find Techno Viper. That's the one I wanted that year because I would see him on the card back, and I would see him in the fold out folders, the
Mhm.
catalog, Um, I was like, that is the cool. It's purple. It's got some silver lining on it. And his mask looks really weird. I want that figure. I could never find him.
It's amazing. Yeah.
And I was in a toy store. I don't know. Maybe that's the only thing they had, but I ended up buying a vehicle, and it was a Cobra vehicle. And for some reason, of course, the box art, right, sells it to you with the
Yes.
action that's going on. Maybe the commercial at the time also, but it was the Cobra, the was it the Sea Ray, the flying that came with Sea Slug, the pilot, but it's the aerial and submergible vehicle. Then, God, I can't think of the name. The devil. It's not the Devil Ray. Maybe it is the Devil. I don't know, but it also came apart, and it could also be a glider
Huh.
um, as well. And I got it out of the box, put it together, and I thought this thing is stupid. I just didn't like it, and that I actually ended up selling it when I started collecting Joes.
Yeah.
Had I known better at the time, I probably would have held on to it, or probably just taken it to a toy store and traded it for some, you know, better than what I got out of it. I think I got like $12 from it. I mean, it wasn't,
Yeah.
but as an adult collector, um, as collectors, we actually try to make more thoughtful, thought out decisions.
Maybe you
Um,
do.
but
My wife
um,
would strongly disagree on me.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I want to say I really don't. There's nothing in my collection that I don't have buyer's remorse for, other than the fact that any of the classifieds I got, but I was
Yeah.
able to turn those around for store credit and get something really, uh, the Crusader out of it. But at the time, before I got that Crusader, I'm like, why did I buy these classifieds? I don't like these.
Yeah.
And I even got it came out in '87. It's the box that folds out into it's a Joe towable vehicle. Um, I can't think of the name. The Coastal Defender or something.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's just a wagon. It's actually really cool though when it's up folded in a box. So I didn't have remorse buying that either. I was like,
Good.
the price was good for it. So,
So, a couple non-toy questions.
uh huh.
Uh, Favorite band all time?
All time. I'm not big into music, but I've seen them 4 times now, and it's Metallica, and that's why my profile figure on my YouTube channel, which I don't do a lot, but I want to,
You
and
need to do more.
Instagram,
Yeah.
um, is my little Kid Bash and custom of he has a Metallica T-shirt on
Hmm.
it. So,
So, favorite all-time movie?
oh, holy cow! Um, Golly, there's so many. I would, just shooting from the hip, um, because we grew up during that time. It's going to be Empire. There's other
Right.
movies out there that I really love,
Yeah.
like Top Gun's great. The day I went to see Top Gun, it was on my birthday in July in 1986, and either before or after the movie, we went to KB Toy. We went to the mall to watch the movie, and then we went to KB, and I bought the Night Raven from the birthday money that I got, and I still have that Night Raven. So, that tied in with Top Gun. That's a great memory. But Empire just there's. I'm just going to go with Empire. It's Empire Strikes Back. Such a great movie.
All right. All-time favorite TV show?
Um, I'll always Sopranos.
Good choice. Good choice.
Yeah, I I can watch that once a year. I would say Band of Brothers, but that's not a TV show. It's more of a mini series. So those are different. But
I would have
um,
played it.
one's a TV show. Band of Brothers, the best miniseries ever done, hands down.
So my last question is a
Yeah.
question I ask almost everybody, and I always get a great answer. I don't think I've ever asked you before, even though you've been on the show a few times.
Okay.
If there is any book, series, TV show, cartoon, or movie that doesn't have a toy line that you would love to see one made of that and you would be all in on, what would it be?
Hmm. Just about every '80s movie I liked had a toy line.
That's why it could be cartoons, comic books,
Yeah, but
TV shows.
um, it's I couldn't imagine an O-ring soprano figure. I just wouldn't.
Might be cool.
Seeing Polly Walnuts in an O-ring figure.
And have a detachable head on Ralphie.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? I'm gonna say Top Gun really never came out with anything. They had some die-cast stuff,
Hmm.
but um, I mean, you can take the Sky Striker and make it, and put some stickers from Toy Hacks because they make those stickers to make it Iceman and Tom Cruise's F-14. But to actually have those helmets um, with that type of detail on those helmets, you know, I'm always itching to do like a custom. And there are some guys out there like Foot, um, Vi, what's his? He was just on your show last week or 2 weeks ago.
Alpha
Alpha, Alpha One,
and
and
Campbell,
Viper Pilot, um,
Kiwi Custom. He's great
Kiwi
too.
Customs. Yeah, I mean the entire community is filled with great people that customize stuff. And it's something I did as a kid, building models and everything, and um, getting into airbrushing and using toothpicks to really use the fine detail on stuff when I was a kid. Um, but there was a line that I saw somebody did that had a Mavericks helmet. I want to say it wasn't 3 3/4 inch, but it might have been 4 inch. It was really cool. I was like, man, that would have been cool to have some Top Gun um, figures like that. And I do somehow and he's not a big character in the movie, but Sundown, played by Clarence Gilliard Jr., who was also in Die Hard, who was also in Chuck Norris, Walker Texas Ranger. He actually went to my college, that the town that I grew up in. So that small little dinky town that I grew up in, Clarence Gilliard Jr., who's passed away a few years ago,
Hmm.
went to the college I went to in Sterling College, and but he played Sundown in Top Gun, and I always liked his helmet. It was the Japanese flag, the sun going down. I always liked that helmet, and I've always wanted to try to get a helmet for a Joe line that had that and use Doc's head, um, and make Sundown.
I've never seen Top Gun.
Oh, oh no!
Yeah,
You have one job today.
it won't happen.
Ah,
It's one of those movies I've avoided seeing. I know a lot of people
okay,
love it,
yeah.
but I just have zero desire to see it. I've caved on some movies, like everybody's like, "Oh, you got to watch A Clockwork Orange. It's the greatest." It was almost 3 hours of my life I'll never get back. just if I automatically think I'm not gonna like something, I probably won't.
Yeah. I mean, to me, that came out in the time where that's what I wanted to be as a kid.
Yeah,
I wanted to be a fighter pilot before I even went to see Top Gun. I mean, I saw Iron Eagle. Iron Eagle,
you know,
that's a cheesy '80s movie, and it came out the same year Top Gun came out. It just came out in the spring of '86, and okay, there's a line that I would okay, instead of Top Gun, let's have Iron Eagle toys. Let's get some F-16s, some Mirages that they used, I think, for the enemy. Let's get Doug Masters and Chappie.
we can definitely do that 118. So easy peasy.
Yep, yep,
All right. Well, I've enjoyed this a lot. I want to thank you so much for taking the time to do this. And
yeah. This was
uh,
fun. This was really
yeah,
fun. I appreciate it, Casey.
this is
Thank
just
you.
like a little side project that I can just do in spare time.
Oh, I know. Yeah,
So fun, and I get to learn stuff about friends. So
yep,
I feel like I know you a little better today than I did this morning.
yeah, yeah. I and hopefully, I do get to hang out with you and Eric and everybody, and just you know, hang by your side when it comes to Joe Fest this, in a few months. So
It'll
I
be a
look forward to
blast.
that.
Yes,
Yeah, and yeah, I really look forward to that. And I'm telling myself to do it. So it's
it's totally
just
worth it. Totally
yeah,
worth it.
yeah. But no, I really enjoy that. I can talk Joe all day long. I mean, you know, I I have an Instagram account, Joe Hunter seven at Joe Hunter 73. I created that back in 2018 toward the end when I started getting and
Mhm.
collecting because I wanted to like, okay, well, people are putting pictures up of their Joe stuff. Well, I want to do the same thing, but I don't want to put it on my personal one
Right.
because I think a lot of my classmates would think, what is he doing? But
Yeah.
who cares? But I just wanted to have something separate, and then I have my YouTube page. It's the same thing, Joe Hunter 73, I think. But I wish I could take the time. Like Dave Seat straight from the pit does a lot of stuff on just the basic video filming stuff. It's great. I love his little videos that he does on YouTube. You guys, I've been ever since you went on YouTube. I've been watching the podcast from it. I've gotten into Ken Toy Connections, Kiwi Customs, Ronnie and Shark Adam from Shark
Yeah.
Toys, and many others. Right? I mean, there's a whole entire community out there that I've just, you know, really enjoy. Makes our lives happier. If we're having a bad day, I can just put on YouTube.
Yeah.
If I'm driving during work and my radio station that I listen to, which is a sports radio station, so I don't listen to music, but if they're, if it's a dull segment, I'll just turn down the music and start talking to myself if I was like on YouTube. Like like let's review the Mamba. Let's review the APC. Let's talk about these features and stuff. And I was like, these are ideas that I always have in my head that I just never put on the show on a video. So, but I
Speaking.
want to.
Yeah. Speaking of the Mamba
Yeah.
on Chaplin's, we are going to review it sometime uh, soonish, and we want you on there when we do it. We talked
Cool.
about
Yeah,
it
I'm
this
down.
week, and we'll definitely. He records at a weird time. It's rough on
That's fine.
me.
Yeah,
It's
it's
like
kind of late at night, isn't it?
10 o'clock on Saturday nights.
Eastern time. And
Yeah,
10 o'clock Eastern.
yeah,
Okay. All right. That's 9 o'clock for me. But oh, Eric, the last one was awesome. The on the headquarters, the outtakes
yeah.
were hilarious. That was awesome.
He's a little psychopath.
Yeah, I enjoyed that.
Yeah, Eric's a lot of
That
fun to
that and
record
that's
with.
another one I would listen to. Um, a few years ago, that's I found Chaplin's Assistant Motor Pod. It's hard to say.
Hmm.
Um, and he sold me on a few toys that I didn't have in my collection. Just him doing those reviews. Um,
So technical. He's so good at
yeah,
it.
I mean, I get it. I think GI Joe helped me as a child, pay attention to detail because of the blueprints,
Hmm.
because of the pictures on the back of the actual vehicle on the boxes. Sometimes were different than what you got, and as a
Yep.
kid, we didn't know about this is a pre-production model.
Yeah.
I was
Oh,
like, well, we didn't know what that was at the time. Um, I'm like, why is the Tomahawk have? Why do those missiles look different than the ones we got? A lot of times what we got was great. It was actually better than the prototype.
right.
But there are some, like the Tomahawk. If you look at the missiles on the box art, even on the actual box art, not the back of the box, but it's the missiles that they came with look like they're meant for water. And I was like, I wish I had those instead. So
Yeah,
stuff like that. But yeah, and Gary takes it to another level on that
he does.
show. So
And he'll be at Joe Fest too. So
yeah,
uh,
yeah.
always fun. His booth's going to be right next to ours.
I'm gonna put
So
a
it could
chair
be at
in
both.
between.
Yeah.
I'm I'm gonna get a lawn chair and just put it in between y'all.
Always welcome to. Yeah. It's just going to be a fun time. And I can't
Yeah.
oversell. Do you like seafood?
Oh yeah.
All right. So we go every year, Friday night, we go to a place called Beanie's, which
Okay.
is right across the street from the convention center. We'll go there for Friday night. Be a few more of
Cool.
us this year. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
All
Heck
right.
yeah.
Well,
Heck yeah. This is fun.
I feel like I can talk to you all day. So
I
I'm going
know.
to
I
have
know.
to close it out.
Yep. I
And
appreciate it. Thank you for the
oh,
opportunity.
oh, you're always welcome on the show. Thanks
Yep.
for doing this for me. I appreciate it.
Yep. Thanks, Casey.
So we're going to end with that new intro again, just because I don't
That's
have
so
an
cool.
outro. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.